see that? I think one of them is
No, I didn't see that. It's sad. I mean, you're talking about a team, you're talking about men that come out each and every day of their lives and give everything to the sport, give everything to this game of football. Nobody wants to succeed more than we want to succeed. I understand fans and the word fan for fanatic. I get that. But to know everything that we put into this day in and day out, try our hardest. Nobody comes into the game wanting or expecting to lose. And for people to react that way when you're supposed to be a supporter and be with us through thick and thin, that's tough.
I think they were aiming at the referees.
Yeah, they were at the referees.
Shit, credit to them then.
That's what
Yeah.
they were doing it.
Oh, credit to them.
In the locker room after the game and how
Your mic is muted. So let me put it like this. Welcome to Pro Football Alliance, the A-Train, Arlington Lane. Usually, I'm not the host of this show. The person that's supposed to be the host of this show decided he wanted to do his own thing and take a dump and then go to sleep. So, yeah, I'm going after him. He knows this. When I go after him, I am not happy with him at all. But that's okay. I love him anyway. But joining me on the program, coming up from a football world, is the one and only John Turner. John Turner, good evening to you, sir. How you doing this evening? Hold on. Your mic. I need to hear you because your mic is off. Your mic's off, man. There it is.
I'm doing real good, man.
I'm giving him hell, and I do it a lot. So
it's just going to be you and me unless one of these other guys decide to get in here and jump on in. The water's fine.
It is, man. Come on in. You ain't got to be scared, man. You ain't got to be scared. Hey, folks, we are on Facebook and YouTube tonight. Also, you can catch us on the footballworld.com as well with John Turner's wonderful football website. And glad to have you on board. Hey, man, I was cracking up at that Dak interview, but it was kind of sad at the same time. I'm like, dude, you wrong as hell for saying that, but because it came out of left, he was like, and this is y'all quarterback, but this is the Dallas Cowboys, man. They got drama filled with them everywhere they go.
That was right after the game, right?
Right after the game, right? Literally right after the game.
I mean, Bill Belichick said a long time ago, one team gets to raise the Lombardi Trophy, and it's a crash landing for the other 31 teams. He's the quarterback of America's team. They had a fine regular season. They came in pretty hot into the playoffs. He's disappointed. He deserved. I think the fans watching, even if you're a fan of who the hell was it? It was the 49ers, right?
Yeah.
If you're a 49ers fan, when you're watching great quarterbacks come down the field at the end of the game, and you can feel that energy, the reason you love football, and you just know Dallas is going to get one more playoff. Either they're going to throw it in the end zone, and either they're going to catch it, or it's going to drop incomplete or get picked off. But you want the game to end that way. You don't want some stupid referee coming and touching the ball, putting it back a foot. Yeah, what a bad way to end. And that's what he's feeling inside. He's a human, just like everybody else. I mean, we like to think that these guys are robots, but they're not. They're fallible human beings, just like you and I are, and they feel disappointment and fear and confidence, just like all the rest of us. So I don't blame him for the heat of the moment comments like that. Naturally, he backtracked today, I guess, but I can't blame him.
I don't think he has though, man. But look, I understand you pissed at the officials and whatnot, but that doesn't give you the right to say to fans that it's best that you throw things at them. You know what I'm saying? They human beings just like you and I.
If he said it in Philadelphia, nobody would care. Okay, because they throw stuff at people all the time. They threw it at Santa. They're throwing it at the opposing fans. They fight each other. You know,
I get that. I get that a lot, man. But at the same time, that's just not cool, man. It's not cool. Just getting a comment inside. It said that Pep Hamilton has declined the interview with the Carolina Panthers. Wow.
Now, do you think that says more about what he thinks the plans are in Houston, or does that say more? Maybe he's talked to Dwayne Johnson. I don't know how many years was on his deal. If this was a 1-year deal in Houston, I don't know if you know.
No, I wasn't sure if it was a 1-year deal.
Does he think he might get a chance at being a head coach? Does he not like the city of Charlotte? I mean, what do you think that's all about?
You know what? I am just as puzzled about that. It's you get a chance to work with a couple of quarterbacks and Sam Darnold and of course PJ Walker, but at the same time, I'm like, I guess he loves his situation in Houston. That's how I look at it. He might be
working with Sam Darnold, PJ Walker, and maybe they bring back Cam Newton again. Isn't that kind of the same as working with Davis Mills, Tyrod Taylor, and whoever the hell else they had?
Yeah, it's true because Tyrod Taylor cannot stay on the field for the life of him, and I think they are really they are looking towards moving past Deshaun Watson, but right now, Davis Mills is the guy until they choose to draft somebody at the quarterback position, and unfortunately for them, that whole team, that whole franchise is a mess. It's a big mess.
But especially if they get rid of Culley, I mean, he can't feel confident about getting moved up and getting the head job. And why would anybody accept that job as their head coaching job right now? Anyway, Culley, a lot of people have said maybe he's on his way out. It's his chance to be a head football coach before he retires or something. I don't know much about what Culley's, plans are as far as how long he wants to coach. I think he did a pretty good job for what he was given. But if I'm some hopeful head coach, I'm not taking the Houston job. No way.
Ooh. Man. Yeah, that's kind of a hard sell, man. You're going to have to deal with a lot of crazy crap until, you got a decent enough team where they can get over 500, I guess, at this point now, because playoffs, you're talking like we Jim Moore at this point. Playoffs? Just trying to win a game.
The playoffs for a long time, unless they can get 3 or whatever first round picks for the main focus. The media is going to ask about Deshaun Watson more than any other part of the team until he's gone. So that you're always going to be coaching from a distracted position, I think, until he's off that roster. So
absolutely, man. I actually feel for him. I've been down here in Houston, and not a lot of good sports press down here. You're dealing with the whole crazy crap with the Astros. Even though they went to the World Series, they lost. Then you got how bad the Rockets are, and then you got how bad the Texans were. It's not a good look so far for Houston sports. So
what is going on with the Rockets? I know this is a football show, but the moment they said we'll take John Wall from my Wizards, I said, oh, thank God somebody took that guy out of here.
Young team, man. Young team. It's a young team.
They gave us Russell Westbrook. That was the trade. Westbrook for Wall, right? That was it, I think.
Right.
Naturally, Westbrook ain't in DC no more. You know what I mean? Now he's putting up bricks in LA. But it seems like everybody who's anybody in Houston, they just couldn't wait to get out of there, starting with Harden.
That's true. Yeah,
They're
it
like the
falls like a
Jets.
domino
Nobody
effect.
wants to be there. Get me out of here.
That's why I feel for the Texans, man. Like when you have a quarterback who is pretty much your franchise, and he pulls whatever stunt you want to say that he did, whether allegedly or not, and that became the cause of the demise of that team, and you give up DeAndre Hopkins for literally nothing, So, and JJ Watt left. Those were the core pieces of your franchise. How in the world did you give that up? And so now you're getting the issues that you have now. And Watson don't want to be there anymore. So now you literally have to start from the bottom up.
The craziest part is that the guy who's been traded by half the league, he's like been involved with more first-round picks than any player in NFL history. Brandon Cooks,
man,
he seems to have found a happy home now. He's happy, and he's 2,000-yard seasons in a row to the same team 2 years in a row. It looks like he probably
exactly, man. Exactly. That's how I feel at this point, man. Like, look, you're gonna find you a good old home to be at, man. You found you a nice place to be in, and you could do whatever you want to do while you in that spot, man. So that's good. That's the only bright spot, though.
Yeah, you ain't gonna win.
No winning. You can forget it.
It's a shame. I feel bad for diehard Texans fans and season ticket holders and things. I mean, these guys are invested and all that. I mean, it's kind of like, I'm a Washington football team fan. They took my damn team's name. They gave us a bootleg billionaire of an owner who's just terrible. He has failed at pretty much every business he's ever been a part of. And, and he's destroyed, not like we were red hot smoking when he bought the team. We were kind of probably headed towards some dark years, but we've had nothing but dark years since he's been here. It's been 22, 23 years in a row, this crap. And if you look, lowest in attendance in the league. Even the Texans are getting more people in the seats than in Washington. They're at 62%. It is dead last in the NFL. And the people that are there, they don't even wear burgundy and gold. They're wearing the other team's stuff. You know what I mean? Because people here in the city, they'd rather just sell their tickets, get face value back, because they don't, spend all that money to park and buy hot dogs for $8 and $10 beers just to watch your squad get beat. You know what I mean? $300 a day.
Right.
You can recoup your ticket money and your parking pass money by selling it to an Eagles fan or whoever. And you watch from home for free.
And they get to enjoy the experience, man.
Order some Chinese food, you know what I mean? Use your own toilet.
I mean, you get that. You give somebody else a chance to enjoy the experience, but also at the same time, you do kind of waste your money. Because then he's like, oh, these are a waste. I don't want these. So then you sell them at less than face value, and then you go home and just like, man, I could have did this at home. Do the hot dogs and stuff, whatnot at home.
Well, okay, so Cincinnati, I drove a Cadillac, a 1995 Cadillac Brougham to Cincinnati one time to watch Washington play the Bengals during Jim Zorn. First year he was the coach. So they were like 6-2 or 6-3 at the time. They were pretty good. Jason Campbell. Anyway, I like to talk to fans of the other city when I go to an away game and, find out some of their traditions for the team and who some of their favorite players are. Because, me from afar, I can shoot out some names, Chad Johnson, Anthony Munoz, whatever. But when you talk to other people in other cities, they'll give you those hidden gem players that you may not be, thinking about. So, but we started talking about how both teams have been struggling for a long time. And they even said the same kind of thing that happens in Washington. He said, they go 5-11. This place is only at 25% capacity. If they go 500 or by God, 9-7, there'll be a wait list to get tickets the next year. And it's not, I don't consider that being a fair weather fan. I just kind of think like, you start to develop an expectation for the amount of money that you're willing to spend on supporting your team. And if your team just consistently, it feels like they're just giving you the finger to you and your expectations, well, then, you don't feel as obligated to spend all that money just to, sit in a 30-degree weather stadium and watch your team get the floor mopped up with themselves. So,
Exactly.
yeah,
It's bad, man. That looks horrible. Like
I
without
can't blame
question.
them.
Right. And I was sitting there, I'm like, why they don't do like what do you need to change the landscape, change the outcomes, because again, I'm laughing about it now. Shoot, when this USFL drops, the Houston Gamblers might do better than the Texans did, and they only going to play a 10-game season. I can expect they could get 5 wins coming in, and I'm just spitballing because they're going to be playing in a bubble. So I'm like, they need something good to come out of Houston. They're going to wait, for the Rockets because they new coach and young team, so they'll be patient for the most part. They're going to have to go through 2, maybe 3 losing seasons. The Texans are going to go through a lot more hell than the rest of the teams here in town. And that said, like you talk about with the Redskins, they're going to deal with God, they don't even call them that. So, see, I pulled a dirty move on that one. Dirty says that out loud, and I did the same thing. But that's what I mean is they are going to have issues until they either give up ownership, which is what I believe the Cowboys should do with Jerry Jones, because they're not going anywhere as long as Jerry Jones is the owner of that team.
Well, I think it's Stephen Jones's team once he
give it up. Give it up. And I know he's not.
Yeah, they're the most valuable sports franchise in all of sports. So the Jones family ain't going to go away. But Stephen Jones, if they're not careful, Stephen Jones will be too old to run that team pretty soon, because I know Jerry's up there. But last time I saw Stephen, his hair was looking mighty white himself. So
exactly, man. Exactly.
I think he's aging faster, wondering when he's going to take over and wonder when Dad's going to walk away. He's like, oh my God, he's pulling his hair out.
Jerry's pulling an Al Davis right now, man.
He'll live to be 130. They'll hold them together with duct tape and IV bags.
Absolutely. All right, the real story while we're here is, of course, about the whole things of do the Mannings smell what the Rock is cooking. If you've watched Monday Night Football, you checked it out, and it got boring at first. It was like, come on, man, you're gonna have to reach it out at some point. But then Peyton Manning brings it up and says, how do you feel about the XFL and stuff? And he was like, well, we got about 2 to 3 weeks out. We was like, wait a minute, he said something. Because I wasn't expecting. What I expected before that came out was Dwayne wasn't going to be able to say much. I just thought he was just going to say XFL and that'll be it.
Mm-hmm.
But he was able to say that 2 to 3 weeks out, you'll hear some announcements. I expected during the week that we don't have football going on, like during when they go on Radio Row and stuff in LA. So I expected either he announces it on the radio or please don't go on Colin Cowherd's show and do it. Shoot, because he'd be looking for something special out of that. But I think a TV deal is going to be announced, and what cities are going to be brought back to the table. That's just me.
During Radio Row, or
that he'll bring it back during Radio Row.
Well, first of all, I think if do you remember when Oliver Luck was doing the tour of the towns and the fan engagement things? You guys got to meet him. I got to meet him here in DC. It almost as if like he had memorized the XFL speech. He never missed a beat. For the love of the game, we've got new exciting people at every team and players. It's going to be a fast-paced game. He knew every bullet point to say every time he was in front of a microphone. He never missed a beat. And I can start to kind of hear that from The Rock. New, exciting, the culture of football. It's going to be great. Announcements coming up. It feels like he's been saying this stuff over and over again, and he's kind of memorized what to say. And I think if Peyton Manning and Eli, if they were to have said, "Okay, Dwayne, when you come on, just go ahead and give us a bunch of stuff about the XFL," I think we would have gotten pretty much exactly what he said when he was asked about it. I think he kind of just had a nice little small portion of, it's going to be exciting. We've got some stuff in the works, and you'll hear about it in a couple of weeks. I think that he just kind of wanted to put that out there, and he didn't want to overstep his boundary, so to speak, on a platform that isn't his. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
If that makes any sense. So I think you're right. I think he's going to bump it up a level. The week leading up to the Super Bowl, it wouldn't surprise me. You go and you sit down at a table and you talk to so-and-so, from W whatever out of this city and that city, and you go from table to table to table and essentially give the same interview every day. But it wouldn't surprise me if every day, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, if he gives us a little bit more. Monday he says, "Oh, by the way, just so you know, we've got a team coming to San Diego." And then maybe in Tuesday he says, "Oh, by the way, Pep Hamilton's coming back to DC." You know what I mean? So,
yeah, that would be nice.
I think if there was a way to strategize it, you just give us a little bit more each and every day. Just repeat what you said the day before and add that one
Just
little
add
thing
a little something after
day.
it. Man.
Yeah, because before you know it, by the end of the week, you've already blown out the USFL in announcements. And here's another thing: who exactly? If you're in the USFL, who do they have? What personality do you want going table to table for Radio Row? They've got nobody with any personality, really. I mean, Moose Johnston used to be in the booth, on game days, I think for Fox. But he's not like fun to listen to. He's just very kind of bland. They don't have the most electrifying man in the entertainment industry. They don't even have a guy that's like a hundredth of the personality of The Rock, and they need somebody.
I would do you one better. Rock will not do the interviews. Danny will do the interviews because
both could be there,
or both could be there. Yeah. Danny sits at one table, Rock sits at another. They both come for another one, and they just kind of do a spellbound throughout the week. You know what I mean? And you pick the five biggest stations, or you pick an ESPN radio show that's big. If that's the case, you can go on Colin's show if that sounds even plausible. Somebody on CBS or whatnot. I know CBS won't fool with it, but you get what I mean. Is going on these different platforms and just giving little nuggets to everybody.
Well, now think about this. You got to get into the nerd factor a little bit. He's Black Adam, DC comic movie coming out. So, I don't know if they ever go to Radio Row, but I know that comicbook.com and Screen Rant write about wrestling from time to time. So you got to imagine some of those writers on those websites are big fans of Dwayne Johnson. They may not care much about football, but because Dwayne's involved, they're probably willing to cover it. Danny Garcia and The Rock, both of them are kind of magnetized by other companies that you probably don't normally find at a football game, but because it's a Super Bowl, they probably have a table like People Magazine, Us, Variety.com,
Deadline,
Rolling Stone. Okay. So like the big heavy hitters that aren't football coverage people, they're pop culture cover. TMZ. Okay, that's TMZ. I mean, you want some clicks. I mean, it's like Oprah endorsing your book. If TMZ is writing about you,
exactly,
you blow up. So I think that they're going to shoot for those as well. You know what I mean? They're going to go out of their way to make sure that they give the pop culture because that's the big thing that the NFL does well. They always are looking for that fringe fan that's not so sure if they want to be a football fan. They're looking to go get that person, because if they can get that person to start buying hats and jerseys, or at least buy gifts for their friends, well, then they've hooked another one. You know what I mean? So
Right. And also you got to keep in mind, as people will like to custom make their jerseys. Some will put any one of the whatever the whatever the XFL cities are, they'll put Dwayne Rocks Johnson's name on the back of it, just because he's a part of it. You know what I mean? And if you're able to capture that, and then the gaming aspect is going to be fun, with fantasy, you can get the younger 18 to 29 crowd into evolving into the XFL. You know what I mean? To reach out, because that's what we saw a bit from 2020 is getting the gamers, because Dirty, he had his son, he was playing the game. I think he won like a $250 gift card from the XFL because he picked the right score. That's amazing. Exactly. Mike says that no XFL blimps. Don't need those at all. You know what I'm saying? And this other comment that Mike just put out, watch out. Dwayne feels rather Charlie Eberle-solish. Break records, don't be a broken record. He said, can we agree if St. Louis gets a team, no cacao chance? I can't promise that.
Tim Hardy, what's going on?
Yeah, what's going on, Tim? Good evening to you, buddy.
So,
I can't promise that. That was big in St. Louis, man. And I know, look, I'm not a fan of it, but that's what made everything work, was cacao. Granted, it spread like wildfire, man. Didn't expect it at all. I'm just being honest. Seeing what has gone on with the XFL back in 2020, how we were able to have a lot of fun for what we saw, being with those fans, being in that atmosphere again, it felt good. And then hearing cacao throughout the stadium, it was just tremendous.
So I see somebody from the St. Louis area. He's got a funky last name. He said that the league has reached out to the Dome at America Center, but there's no deal in place just yet. But they have, in fact, the league has in fact reached out to the city.
Oh yeah, that's from Channel 2, the affiliate in St. Louis. Martin Kilcoyne
Fox
mentioned
something.
Fox 2, mentioning that that no deal has been reached right now. But it's a cinch to keep St. Louis in the XFL. If you take them out, it changes the dynamic, because St. Louisans love football.
Yeah, I don't think you can come back without the Battlehawks.
Exactly. They have to come back, and don't change the name. You keep the lands, keep everything the same. The field is practically ready if needed. It's ready if needed. So, go for it.
Is the stadium not used by anybody right now?
No, there are no tenants right now in the Dome at America Center. The only thing they put in is like mostly events. I know the upcoming event that's coming up. Yeah, concerts is coming up. The Royal Rumble is coming up on the 29th this month. So and it'll be the first time in 10 years since that happened. So so they keep holding events and stuff, but they need football. Football is what made those 20 seasons special, despite the fact that fans from all over the country were taking over the Dome.
He said Monster Jam.
Yeah, Monster Jams. They do a lot of Monster Jams.
I've taken my kids to Monster Jam before. Yeah, they had the guy come out. It kind of looked like a motorcycle, but it was like a jet rocket motorcycle. The loudest thing I'd ever heard. My kids, they wanted to leave.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. It like blew up under the guy. Like it backfired on him, and he almost caught on fire and burned to death in front of our eyes.
Hey, you were like, "Oh my God, that is so cool!" I mean, I never really got a chance to see the Monster Jam like I should have as a kid. But my pop's like, I ain't too big on that kind of stuff. So he's
I
like, I'd
got to
rather.
see him when I was small. I got to see Bigfoot before he retired.
Oh man.
Gravedigger was new at the time. This is like in late 80s or something like that. Bigfoot was still around. And yeah, so it was okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was fun. I was more concerned with getting all the food I wanted to try. And my uncle pretty much allowed me to do that. He bought me everything that day.
Even though we're talking about other things, this is Pro Football Alliance Live, brought to you by Pack22.com. Call Matt Eddington today first. Call him first at 727-452-2645 to start your account, and by Cafe Piazza. Go to today at 1900 Arsenal Street at the corner of Arsenal and Limp in St. Louis, Missouri. And just been touching the base on that, John, how much St. Louis means to the XFL. It's huge. Like, remembering going to the happy hours. I know you got a chance to do that when you were in DC.
Mm-hmm.
And each one that we went to, the crowds got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it lets people know, like Kurt Hunzinger, when I say he did a tremendous job, his entire team, because they did not have football in St. Louis, they had to work twice as hard than the other cities. You weren't going to get as much like in the LA, New York. They probably weren't going to, they're not going to care too much about it because they're more Knicks and then Lakers and then Dodgers and the Mets and the Yankees. You got to think about the time period at that, during that particular moment. Also, St. Louis, only thing that they had going during that time period from, let's say, October to December is college basketball. All right. And then whatever, if the Cardinals are in the playoffs, and then the Blues hockey. They didn't have football. They had like free reign to go wherever they wanted. So what they did was they started going to high school games. And I'm talking about they went to almost every area high school in the city just to say, hey, we got football coming back. And then they start plastering. The marketing was tremendous. And it showed for when those two games happened in the Dome.
So Kurt Hunzinger, I don't know if you're still in contact with him. Is he a guy that you think would come back, that they would like to bring back? Because he did, help create obviously the most, exciting, atmosphere for any of the teams in the league. They definitely sold the most tickets. Do you think he'd be willing to come back? Is there like a fear factor of, I don't know if I want to join, or do you think he would jump in with both feet or face first, at the opportunity to come back?
No, the period for him coming back is done. Like, that was a season. And I think that has been like one of the biggest blows to St. Louis is losing a guy like Kurt Hunzinger, who did everything in his power to make sure that we're going to ensure you that we're bringing back football. One of the ideas that he had, John, was he was going to do the Arch Football Honors and was just honoring St. Louis football. That means from the Cardinals, from the Rams, from Mizzou, from Illinois. I don't know why, but don't ask about them. But they were going to honor all of those guys that got to play in that realm, and so it was going to be perfect. They were coming out with a new mascot, and it was like, God, I was looking forward to that, and it was going to happen that game against LA. And that's where everybody's going to start chanting, Kroenke sucks. I mean, they already did the first game against New York. But imagine they was going to have 50,000, 55,000 fans screaming that. That's what was going to be even more compelling. And when I tell people on the XFL STL show, imagine 55,000 people being at these games, and you don't even know who the roster is. You don't know who these guys are.
Yeah.
You know a few people: Matt Jones, Christine Michael. I'm just spitballing off the top. You may know who Dexter McCoy was. Congratulations on his retirement, by the way. But you didn't know who Jordan Teamu was. You didn't know, unless you followed Mizzou. John, you didn't know who LaDamian Washington was.
Not really.
Exactly. That's my thing. St. Louis loved its football no matter what. And so because they loved it so much, that's kind of how Seattle like I always like to throw Seattle in the mix because they have an NFL team and they still supported the Dragons like nobody's business. And when you see that, I have to put Seattle over St. Louis because Seattle has an NFL team and St. Louis does not. So for them to do what they were able to do, merchandise, marketing, I mean, Ryan Gustafson did an amazing job out there. Because it's like you got an NFL squad here, and they still was coming out to those games. So Seattle loves their sports just as much as St. Louis does. And they have an NFL team. That's what was so cool about the XFL. That was just so cool about that.
I can agree to that. There's a question here from Tim again.
How
big you can go, but
oh man.
So Tim, if you didn't know, the Mike Riley, quarterback for the BC Lions, has been the highest paid player in the Canadian Football League for 3-4 years, I think, in a row. And I think he was getting paid about $930,000 when he first signed. Now I think he's restructured his deal once or twice since he originally signed that 4 or 5 years for about a little over 900,000. Bo Levi Mitchell, who has in rare form spent his entire career thus far in Calgary as the Stampeders quarterback, he makes about $750,000 a year. And then of course, the Canadian to American ratio is about, I think if you give them an American dollar, they give you back about 72 cents last time I checked. So their money, it's kind of like more, you know what I mean? So like in American standards, I guess you would make a little over $1 million, 1.2 million, I guess is kind of what that comes out to. Mm-hmm. In American, that's third round money. Okay, the top of the third round is about 1.1, and then the bottom is about 920 grand of the third round money. And I said that's where I think these leagues can kind of stay as far as what they're paying their premium player. And if you're thinking about third round types of players, you know what I mean, or even fourth, fifth rounders or whatever that want to make third round money to actually play, who sticks out to you as far as a player?
Ooh, good grief. If I'm looking at it right now, I'm going with the NFL. The first person that came to mind is your friend Stacey Ashton's guy, Gardner Minshew from Philadelphia.
And he's making third round money right now.
So he would be perfect for the XFL, if he wanted to do that. As in a coach, if I'm looking for a guy that's willing to work with players that are hungry, wow, that's a tough sell, man. That's really a tough one because it's like every coach is just like.
I wrote an article. I put it out there today. It was coaches that I'm trying to predict the coaches in the NFL 5 years from now. Mm. So I kind of went and looked at coordinators at both the college and positional coaches at the NFL level and who sticks out to me. There was one name that I came across. It's got a pretty good relation with the Canadian factor here. And Mark Trestman, who was last with the XFL and has been with the CFL. His name is Marcus Brady. He's the offensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts. Coached under Jim Pop, won a couple of Grey Cups for Montreal. Later in 2017, won a Grey Cup under Mark Trestman for the Toronto Argonauts. First NFL gig was when Frank Reich took the job in Indianapolis, brought him down from the Canadian League. He's been on the team now just as long as Frank Reich has, for his fourth season. He's the sole offensive coordinator because Nick Sirianni, they lost Sirianni to Philadelphia this year. So he took over after Nick Sirianni. He was previously the quarterbacks coach and I think receivers coach before they gave him the full reins to the offense this year. But look at that offense. I mean, it's easy when you got Jonathan Taylor. You just turn around and hand the ball to him, right? And he does whatever.
Right. No question about it.
But statistically, he just got the best year out of Carson Wentz in his whole career. Statistically, now they got their asses handed to them by Jacksonville on the dead last game of the year and knocked them out of the playoffs, but they still had a chance if whatever that weird game ended in a tie or something. But that's a fine job for first ever gig as a coordinator in the NFL. You get there to the last regular season game. They had a pretty darn good season. You look at the skeleton crew they had at wide receiver. They didn't really have a tight end to go bragging about to anybody. But Nyheim Hines catching all those balls out of the backfield and Jonathan Taylor running around like a madman, also catching 40 balls from Carson Wentz, who everybody laughed out of the building when they made that trade for him. They thought it was the worst idea in football history, especially when he got that playing time that meant that their pick got elevated to a first rounder. So now Philly's got 3 of them. But Marcus Brady, be on the lookout for a guy like that. So if you're asking me about a coach that could end up in the XFL, I think a guy like him, maybe he doesn't, maybe he doesn't get offered a head coaching gig right now. He gives the Rock offers him one and allows him to be a GM. If he has a successful season or two, oh boy, you know what I mean? They've just found lightning in the bottom.
What is Rick Neuheisel doing these days? I know Dennis Erickson did not have the greatest time when he was in Salt Lake. he's doing music. Is that what we doing now?
No, he's on Saturday morning on I don't think it's ESPN. It might be like the SEC network or something like that.
Yeah.
But he does like college game day stuff.
Okay, that kind of stuff.
Saturday mornings. But other than that, nothing. He probably does some radio. Most of those guys are affiliated with some sort of radio personalities wherever they live.
Jerry Glanville, too old now, man. I don't
Why
think
think Glanville could end up in the USFL because he was just with the Spring League.
Right. That hot, but I can't see him in the XFL. Urban Meyer, it would shake the league up, but it'll be out of Urban's asking price. So hell no. Urban wouldn't do that, even if you gave him a lifetime contract with everything he ever asked for.
I don't think we're going to see him coach ever again.
Oh yeah, he's done. That's it. Oh, without question. After what was pulled in Jacksonville, that experiment went down in the trash can.
Yeah. Maybe UNLV, he can go hang out at the strip clubs after the game.
Like Spurrier, I don't see that happening either in either league, USFL or XFL. I mean, it's the name. I get it. And, and yes, Tim, I do believe that we will get some bigger names than what we think.
I could see Steve Spurrier as the Tampa Bay Bandits, like director of player personnel.
Hey, as in he'll still have a gig somewhere in football. That'll be interesting.
He helps pick the players. I mean, the coach is your coach and the GM. It's Todd Haley, right? In Tampa Bay, I think. Which
he's the GM, general manager as well.
But Steve Spurrier, that was his first coaching gig, was the Tampa Bay Bandits of the original USFL. So, if he were to kind of be around, help pick the players, do some TV spots in Tampa. Come on down, get your tickets. Come on, I'll be there signing old quarter balls. Signing old.
Rest in peace, Burt Reynolds, man.
Something, you know what I mean? Get it. I think that would be good for the league if they got him. But I think you're right. I think he doesn't. The coaching bug probably has left him now. He's got to
that's done, man. Like, I can't see him, and I can't say, Tim, as much as I want to say that it's doomed. You got to remember, Fox put a lot of money down in this, okay, and so they willing to go sink or swim with this league now, and now that NBC has jumped on board with them, it's not as doomed as you think. It's just that everything is so compressed right now that we haven't seen who the last 4 coaches are for the USFL, and that won't change until those contracts are signed and they are and the ink is dry, because they'll sit there and have it wet and then, no, I don't want to do this anymore. Case in point, Gene Chizik.
Here's a pretty good question, and I think the answer is yes. I'll let you answer it. But he says, technically speaking, since Redbird Capital owns all, and that's not true, they own 1/3 equally with The Rock and Danny Garcia of the XFL IP, and I assume that means intellectual property.
Yeah, the intellectual property,
past and present. Couldn't they release all the original 2000 XFL content as we XFL? As well as XFL 2020 in one app. I don't see why not. I'm guessing you're going to be able to go to their YouTube page and pull up the archive games. I mean, you can answer the question, but if they own it, my only thing is that was at NBC, right?
Yeah, XFL, WWE owned half, and NBC did. So the only way that changes,
I think they're going to have to do some editing to edit some of that out, because they're not going to be doing any freebie commercials for either of those companies without some sort of sweetener in the deal, right?
Or unless Comcast gets involved with the XFL. That's the only way that does it. And if they do it on the back end. You get what I'm saying? They don't do it in the front.
Comcast is the one that owns Peacock and NBC. Is that how that works now?
Yeah. Comcast owns Peacock, Universal, Univision, and NBC. And so, because when the playoffs come, I think there's a game that's coming this weekend. They're going to be on those 3 networks: NBC, Peacock, and Universal. So you get a Spanish version, and then you get the streaming version, and then the network version. So if they get involved with this, then Comcast would have to do something on the back end for them to allow that 2000 XFL content to even go forth. And not to mention, some of those games were featured on UPN, which is gone, and TNN, which is now Spike.
UPN. Oh man, yeah.
The United Paramount Network. See, and that's another thing where CBS would have to get involved with that as well, because that was owned by Viacom. So that's a whole nother headache that you would have to deal with. So I wouldn't even bother the 2000 content, unless they strike deals with those networks, with those parent companies. I don't see that happening. But I think the 2020 app stuff, we should be able to get. The problem is you got Fox games too. So I don't think that would fly either. So it kind of sucks. And plus, a lot of people will be pissed if they have to take down their games that they recorded of the XFL. There's plenty of them out there. And so they'd be really hurt if they have to go through that whole mess. And
they probably got a crew of people, like a handful of 2 to 4 people, going through every game that was played in both 1.0 and 2.0. And they're saying, look, give us the best of the best highlights, the best of the best, quick, clips that you can put together, because we are going to be, putting something out there as far as, way back in the day, 2 years ago, and in the new stuff, and in order to kind of, number one, keep the memory alive, so they can still sell a He Hate Me jersey, or a Kenny Robinson jersey, or whatever, a PJ Walker. So they're not going to want you to just forget. But
right.
You're right. I don't think they're not gonna do any favors for these other networks. That's for sure.
I remember I wrote a piece when I had a little small football website, Alliance to XFL, and I was writing about how St. Louis is big for the XFL and who would they need to bring back. And one of the people that I mentioned was, of course, Rod He Hate Me Smart. Those were the guys that, Tommy Mannings was big in the XFL. You know, I can't remember too many of the quarterbacks that were playing, even though there was only 8 that did. I think Ryan Clement. There was a story which is like an unofficial book of the XFL. God, I can't remember it off the top of my head. And it was focused on everything Vegas, you know, with their team out there. And so, you know, it would be great to have them come back. They should come back because they're part of that lineage, you know, but I don't see the XFL doing it. If they didn't do it in 2020, I don't see them doing it again in 2023.
I really, I'm going to keep standing by this thing. I think that they ought to bring back the Bolts, the Birmingham Bolts, and move them to San Diego because they look just like the Chargers. You know, the lightning bolt like right across the crown of the helmet.
Yeah.
His colors are the Chargers colors, at least like the Junior Seau Chargers. You know,
Okay.
that kind of navy blue with the, you know, gold and the navy stripes up the middle of the helmet, and I think it was like the gold numbers surrounded by the white and navy or something like that. They looked almost exactly like what the Chargers do, and it would kind of be like, you know, I think a Battlehawk presence. You know what I mean? You've been now a few years without a team. Team comes back and reminds you of your old squad. You go, shit, look at this. We got this brand new stadium here, San Diego State letting them use it. You know, they got, you know, they got great food here, and now we've got a squad again to root for. So there it is.
That new Aztec Stadium that they got coming out in the fall. So, you know, that would be great. It's going to
be ready by football season this upcoming fall.
Yeah, so that's huge for them, you know. And that's what's the name of that stadium again?
You can tell it doesn't rain in Southern California. Go back to that picture if you can for a second. Go back to that, will you?
Give me a second. Let me pull it back
point something out on there. See, nowadays these multi-use stadiums and a lot of, you know, even the bigger football stadiums, they have a nice overhang on both the sides of the stadium,
yes.
You know what I mean? And it keeps people out of some of the elements. And it almost hangs like almost to the point where it's like right over the sideline. So like everybody stays dry in the event of rain, but you still get enough sunlight in there to keep the field sunny. But you know, they must only get like 2 inches of rain a year in San Diego because they got nothing over top of those
cover,
season.
exactly.
Hotter than the devil's asshole all day long, and they got no coverage, no shade, no nothing.
Hey, I think if I'm not mistaken, Houston's the Roughneck Stadium, TDECU, where University of Houston plays, they don't have covering over there as well. And I understand they get rain and stuff, but also throughout, if the XFL does return to Houston, they have beautiful temperatures during February to April. So, you know, I was getting jealous when I was watching these games, especially when the Battlehawks would play the Roughnecks and they were in beautiful weather, 60, 70-degree weather playing. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Well, then you get into May, though, you know, and then it's like kind of like a hurricane or quasi-tornado season kind of down there, isn't it?
Snapdragon, that's what the name of the stadium is.
The San Diego State, the new house?
Yeah. Snapdragon is what
I thought that they were going. I thought I just saw that it was going to be called New Qualcomm, and it was a $45 million deal over 15 years for the naming rights. I thought I just read that a couple of days ago. I could be wrong.
Let's see what we got here. Tim asks, what stations do you think XFL joins? Probably the ESPN family of networks. I think
television. He's talking about television. I guess?
Yeah, I think he's talking about those.
I think it's a no-brainer. ESPN is going to be one of them, and they own they're both owned by Disney. Isn't The Rock's one of his new big releases on Netflix?
Yeah, Red Notice.
What else does HBO Max own?
They're ran by Time Warner.
Does Time Warner own any major channels?
TNT, TBS, Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, True TV.
I only ask because he's Black Adam, and all their movies are getting put out simultaneously on HBO Max, and then of course if he's got that Red Notice or whatever on Netflix, I think that could make either one of those companies a player, because now we've seen Netflix dip their toes into a couple of college football shows now, haven't they? They had Last Chance U, and then they had another one, I think.
The Last Chance U with the basketball they've done as well. So
they had another one recently. But anyway, if Red Notice, if they went out, and I don't know if they were the one that paid for the production or whatever of Red Notice with the chick I just saw her. She was on my goddess, Selma Hayek, and somebody else. That's who Red Notice is, right? It's The Rock, Selma Hayek, and somebody else.
This is with Gail Gadot.
Gadot.
Wonder Woman.
Sorry, the younger Selma Hayek. Not the Selma Hayek.
The taller Selma Hayek.
I call you old, baby girl. I didn't do that. Don't misquote me now.
But it was with his production company, $7 Production. So
okay, so they've already got a relationship. Then that's what that tells me.
Well, the Rock has a huge relationship with Time Warner, not just with HBO Max, but he had the show on TNT, the reality show he had with that, and then I know he has one with Comcast with NBC because of Young Rock. So he's a major player in different realms. He could go anywhere with this XFL thing. You know what I mean? He even has a relationship with Viacom. So anybody of those parent companies
who do they own? Viacom?
CBS, Paramount Plus, CW.
Oh, they're with Paramount Plus?
Spike, yeah. Spike
Network. Oh, well, they're red hot right now because of Yellowstone and all the spin-offs. I thought that was owned by MTV for some reason.
MTV is owned by it's Viacom CBS. That's the term now.
Okay.
So they both merged together.
But they're in with Paramount.
Yes, Paramount is them. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know if you buy Paramount Plus, I looked into it because I didn't want to wait for 1883's new episode or whatever. So I was like, so let me see if it's worth the $5. I saw you get all the Nickelodeons, and I think USA is in.
I know it sounds crazy, but I even watched the new season of The Game, and it's actually better than the seasons prior. The ones
is that on Paramount Plus too?
Yes, the new season is on Paramount Plus, and it's actually, in my opinion, that one season, the reboot, the revival and stuff, is better than any of the seasons they ever done. Seriously.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest you watching the previous seasons because it seemed like more of a thrown together kind of nut job about football. But it's like they did this season and they really produced it like what's going on in football today. It's really terrific.
So it's kind of like Ballers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And Ballers was tremendous. That was.
But yeah, Mike said, "Come on to Amazon." Amazon was red hot, but I think Jeff Bezos, in the end, he wants his own football team. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think they're going to make a play for the Sunday ticket. We've obviously heard that, but I think Disney is going to beat them out to the punch for it. And, House of Mouse, man, if they want something, they're going to get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think
I'm not going to say that.
Bezos can look at it a little more pragmatically and say, you know what? Maybe we just keep doing the season, you know what I mean, with a few teams, and then he's getting Thursday night football next year. So, and maybe he'll they go to an 18-game schedule, or they add another playoff team per conference, and he gets in and buys one of those games or something like that. I think he'd be content with that. And like you said, buy a a team. Maybe he buys the Broncos, and then he goes, you know what? I don't need any of this other crap. I own the Broncos now. You know what I mean? So, but here's the thing about the last thing about Bezos is that I will say he is a nerd. He's a fantasy nerd in real life. Like he loves Lord of the Rings and Wheel of Time and he is going all in. Like he's literally the Lord of the Rings television show. He wrote the big check. Like it's going to be like a $500 million first season or something.
Kind of like how Marvel, Disney's doing with Marvel and their television series, you know?
Yeah, but he's paying more. and you know what? You're probably going to hit play on the first episode and you're going to be like, who are all these weird people from New Zealand? I've never heard of any of these folks. And
Hey.
then you're going to find out that opening episode was like $120 million to film.
Oh my God.
But he doesn't care because if you look at the stuff that they're putting in there, they've got that Space Invasion show that just had their first season. That was a pretty penny, if I believe I read that one cost. And he's got The Expanse that just wrapped up their sixth and final season, but that was a big production show that they bought. I believe that was a Netflix show that got canceled, and they bought the rights and brought it over to Amazon, spent a bunch of money revitalizing it. So he likes doing that stuff, and I have a feeling he might actually like it more than buying the Sunday ticket. You know, it might be worth it for him just to keep doing nerd stuff, which is fine for me because I like that stuff too.
Tim says, I see ESPN, ABC, TBS, TNT all getting XFL games, and Netflix and other apps get the XFL documentary shows and reality shows.
There's only 43 games.
Hey.
If they stay with 8 teams, so they're going to need more teams. And maybe that brings us to our next topic, you know.
But yeah, and remember, I think if memory serves me correct, there was 4 networks. There was 4 networks for the Alliance of American Football, and not to remember ESPN. You know, they got ESPN 2, and you got ESPN Plus. And then TNT and TBS, if you do it, you know, you have a game apiece that you could throw out. And also the speculation is there's going to be more than 8 teams that be announced.
Well, okay. So you're going to need at minimum 12. I think if you want to get 4 networks involved, then I think you're going to sell a Friday night game to one network. And then you're going to have 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. So you're going to have 2 different networks, one getting an early game, and they'll probably get the late game the next day. And then it flip-flops for the other networks. So let's just say ABC and ESPN get the Saturday and Sundays games. You know, one gets early, one gets late, and then vice versa. And then you'd have Monday night game, and you can sell that one to Netflix or whoever the hell else you want. Everybody's got Netflix at this point, right? Doesn't like a third of the world? Isn't a third of the world on Netflix? Like I talked to my friend in Israel. He's like, God damn, I hate Netflix here in Israel. They don't have this show yet on it, or they won't put that on here. But I know it's available in America, and it boggles my brain that they change it. But evidently, Canada is the same way. Like
this here,
the same network,
right there.
Well, Hulu, that's part of the Disney conglomerate. So yes.
Yep.
But see, now Hulu already carries ESPN proper and its affiliates and ABC. So I think if they do something that's like a Hulu specific, it will be like one of those reality type shows that they make. You know, catch the Jeremiah Spicer story on
You're gonna stop. You're gonna stop right now.
Special documentary.
You're gonna stop. Hey, but I bet you his story will get there. I guarantee you it will be there. I'm telling you that now.
If he makes a team,
he's gonna make it. I guarantee you. I'm gonna put some money.
Put it on
pack22.com, folks.
That's a prop bet of the century. Will Spicer make a roster in the XFL?
Pack22. Put it on pack22.com. I'm game for it. Hey, folks, make sure.
Guys, speaking of Pack22, it's working. I won my first bet. Tom, it was It was the Rams. I bet that they would not score on their opening drive. A little measly $5. No big deal. Nothing too serious. But guess who won? They were held to a punt. They had the punt. And the moment that punter put his foot to that ball, I was glorious, financially glorious.
You didn't even know that
Then the gambling got, well, I turned into the game a little late. I tuned in like 10 minutes in. And I was like, is that their first drive? I bet on them not to
He
score.
said, well, that's it. He thought they scored a touchdown the first drive. I said, no.
But
they
who's
punted.
the big winner? This guy right here. 2 thumbs and wins all the time betting football on pack22.com.
Congrats. Congrats, sir. Congrats, sir. Yeah, sign up. Go today to pack22.com. Call Matt Addington first, 727-452-2645. See, I do it better than dirty to start your account today. And, of course, it's fueled by St. Louis, by Cafe Piazza, 1900 Arsenal Street, St. Louis, Missouri, 63118. Let me see what Mike's comment is real quick before we, because we did an hour and I didn't expect that so quick. Wow. If the XFL can offer more to a select few top-tier NFL prospects like Young and Stroud, then we those, God, dog, man, can make NFL rookie deals via the current CBA. You're worse than John, Mike. Good God. I love to see Minshew, but a guy like CJ Stroud or Bryce Young making millions more than a rookie deal would definitely draw more viewers, in my opinion, and potentially start a trend since everyone wants paid. Now, we have talked about this, of a potential of the young guys getting paid freshman, sophomore year, and then saying, what the hell do I need to continue go to the NFL? I play in the XFL if I have to, because I might not get a shot to start right away. I know these are big 4- and 5-star guys, but what if you get the 3-star guy that gets $1 million and he does fantastic? You're gonna want to snatch him as quick as possible. And he's like, I have to wait till my junior year to go to the NFL draft. The hell with that. I'm going to jump in after my sophomore year, see if I could throw my skills in the XFL. I'll try it there. What's wrong with that?
There's a great young quarterback, sophomore, I believe, this year. Not draft eligible, I know that. Clayton Tune is his name for the University of Houston. I'm big on Doug Belk, their defensive coordinator. But Clayton Tune is a fine young quarterback and is creeping to come up on the big rise. And a guy like him still has that academic eligibility. If he's not getting an NIL deal, he's at the University of Houston. Now, my big thing was, just have Doug Belk and Clayton Tune come over to the Houston Roughnecks. That would be perfect. You know what I mean? Yeah. Doug Belk with one more year on his contract after this this upcoming year will be the last year on his contract. He signed a 2-year deal in the summer. But anyway, Clayton Tune, that would be like, Coach Diamata on the Miami Sharks leaving and taking Willie Beeman with him to the Albuquerque, whatever they were going to be called, in any given Sunday.
The Aztecs. Albuquerque Aztecs.
Those are the Aztecs? That's racist. But anyway, I think it would be really cool for a guy like Clayton Tune if he's not getting the money in college. And you got to think about it. Have you ever heard of Clayton Tune?
No, not until today.
Okay. All right. So that's my point. Like, nobody knows really who Clayton Tune is unless you watch like an abundant of college football and like really kind of watch a lot, because really in the grand scheme, nobody's watching University of Houston games that typically watch Alabama games. You're just not going to waste your time. But with that said, if he thinks he can make a bigger name for himself, get a better deal, hop into the XFL, well, screw it. You know what I mean? I don't want to transfer to another university and have to battle to be a starter there and then maybe get an NIL deal or something, in Nebraska, you know what I mean? Or Wisconsin, where it's extremely cold. Or right across the way there, or actually at the same stadium I'm already playing in, there's a spring league that's willing to pay me $750,000. You know what I mean? And they said they'll guarantee me a 3-year deal. I think a guy like him, I don't know his personality. I don't know the kid, but I would think a lot of kids would jump at an opportunity like that.
Yeah, no question. And I mean, That's going to be the tough sell for the XFL. It could work out, and other times it could backfire. You know, you're gonna have to take risk, especially now that this XFL thing is going to come back out again. It's going to be about big leaps, and if you don't make that big leap, you might miss out on a prize that you could have had for your league. And if he does go to the NFL, that's good for him. But my thing was, the XFL should be separate from the NFL. You be your own league, spring football league, a professional football league. You can't be in major cities calling yourself semi-pro. That's just stupid. Because if that was the case, John, we'd be having teams in Iowa. They'll play in Memphis. They'll play in Kentucky. They'll play in Oklahoma. You know what I mean? You're not looking at a major city and they're called semi-professionals. They're not. They're considered professional. You're playing in a major city with an NFL city other than St. Louis. These have had teams before. So that's why I look at the XFL. I know we're looking at the USFL as well, and they're trying to get back to where they used to be playing in their former cities. But even those are big, major cities. You're not playing in Sioux City, Iowa. You're not playing in Flagstaff, Arizona. You're not playing in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You're playing in a major metropolitan city. That's the main thing here.
Yeah, I think if it's very rare. Green Bay, Wisconsin, so they snuck in there into the NFL, and luckily they do well. Even on the television ratings, are always one of the most watched teams. And really, honestly, if the Packers weren't in Green Bay, Wisconsin, would you have ever uttered the words Green Bay, Wisconsin in a row?
They would have been in Milwaukee.
In your life?
They would have been playing at Old County Stadium, man.
Nobody would ever visit Green Bay. They wouldn't even have an airport if it wasn't for the Packers. Okay, but you'd have to get off an old steam engine train to get there if it wasn't for Green Bay and Brett Favre. They'd have probably transferred to Mexico City by now or something. But anyway,
yeah. We got to get out of here, man.
We got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Real quick, let's just mention some topics that we should have talked about, but we'll mention them next week.
Yeah,
we'll talk about them next week, guys. Jim Pop, 4-time Grey Cup champion, 3 with Montreal, 1 with Toronto. I believe. Baltimore Stallions. He won a Grey Cup with Mike Pringle, 1995 Baltimore Stallions. Basically, the reason the Ravens came back. Jim Pop has been hired by the USFL as an executive who's like the liaison of player acclamation or something. I can't exactly remember the word, but basically, I think he's bringing guys into the XFL, he's making sure they're signing their deals and all that accurately and letting them know like how the draft is going to work and blah, blah, blah. So Jim Pop, lifer in professional football, has now moved down to the USFL and has had a lot of success in his time there. We talked about San Diego. They might be taking the NFL to court a la St. Louis. They saw that $750 million. They go, I want to check. So that might be the big in for the XFL as far as getting a team. Like, all right, look, we can't cut another $750.
All right.
But talk to the Rock. We talked about the rule, the stupid rule. It screwed the Cowboys. We opened it up with the Cowboys. The early whistle that was supposed to have blown the play dead. We'll get to that another time in the Raiders game. But here's a big one for me. They put out, the 3 Down Network had put out a poll to Canadian Football League fans that were different age groups. If we were to change some rules, would you still support? And, then they asked young people and old fans, the same thing. Would you buy tickets? Would you support? Would you not support anymore? And alarmingly, a lot of the older fans said that if they change any of the rules or this rule or that rule, they would drastically drop off of their fandom. Yet the young people, the younger fans, said that they would prefer the league to change rules to a more NFL-style set of rules that seemed to be more appealing for youngins versus the older folks. But in the CFL, it's usually that older crowd that's buying the tickets. and they've been trying to get the young crowd in the door. But in order to get them, it's starting to sound like they're going to have to make some changes. And the important wild card factor is that right now the league is in the negotiations with their Players Association for the new collective bargaining agreement. It only lasts 2 years in the CFL, 2 seasons. So every other year they're trying to put a new deal together. This is the first year that they're going to seriously discuss major rule changes. So I think maybe next time we get together, hopefully we can get Greg James, Candid Frank, one of these guys that are north of the 49th parallel to chime in on this, because these are the guys that have been paying the bills for the CFL for quite a while.
Yep, and we'll make sure Dirty comes back from the dead, and he'll be back and hosting on this show.
He's still on the toilet. He's pooping standing up.
Oh, he'll enjoy that one. All right, y'all. Thanks so much. John Turner, thank you for hopping in and pinch hitting. And I'm glad to do this for tonight. We'll make sure we'll be better again on next week. Hey, folks, make sure you go to pack22.com. Call Matt Eddington at 727-452-2645. Start your account. And of course, this is fueled by Cafe Piazza at 1900 Arsenal Street at the corner of Arsenal and Limp. We're out of here. John, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a football world. We're all just passing through.
Hey, go to footballworld.com today. We'll catch you next time for another edition of Pro Football Alliance.